Hi, everybody. My name is Jennifer. I am one of the Education and Outreach Specialists here at the Sexual Assault Resource Center. We are really excited today to have a very special guest, Cassie, and I will let her introduce herself in just a moment. She is from Scotty's house. So for those of you that aren't aware, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, but it's also Child Abuse Prevention Month as well. And so what we're going to be talking about today is kind of how they overlap, because many times they do overlap. So we are going to just go ahead and get started. If you have any questions or anything, please put it in the comments. If it's more of a confidential question, go ahead and call our hotline at 979-731-1000. And if you want more information about our services, please go on our website, which is sarcbv.org. So let's get started. So Cassie, tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe a little bit about Scotty's house and some of the services that you guys have.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Jennifer. I'm Cassie Medlin, the Education and Outreach Coordinator for Scotty's House. We are the Child Advocacy Center of the Brazos Valley, serving all 7 counties, not just Bryan or Brazos County, where we provide forensic services, counseling services, advocacy services to children and their non-offending family members of victims of child abuse.
Great, thank you. And how long did you say how long you've been at Scotty's house?
I will celebrate 4 years in September, so it's about 3.5 years now.
That's exciting. That is exciting. Okay, so with child abuse and specifically child sexual abuse, what are some of the mental, emotional, and developmental effects that can happen to a child who's experienced this?
So research shows us that child maltreatment of any kind, whether it's sexual or otherwise, can have lasting long-term effects that can be learning disabilities, behavioral problems, lack of success in school, leading to chronic illness, potentially the child maltreatment, diabetes, heart disease, even some cancers have shown have been more prevalent in child abuse survivors. They can be physical, behavioral, psychological. I mean, the cost of, child maltreatment on society is a incredible burden. When we look at just these substantiated cases in the United States, we are talking of the long-term health costs, over 428 billion with a B dollars, and that's just the confirmed cases, the ones we know about, the substantiated cases. When we factor in the unsubstantiated, the unconfirmed cases, the kiddos that never spoke up or no one ever reported that they thought that they were being abused, the kiddos that never got help, that cost on society, the burden soars to 2 trillion with a T dollars. So I know some people are dollar people, and or money people or numbers people, so child abuse is arguably the biggest health issue, health crisis, I know pandemic is the word of the year, the whatever now, but it is a huge epidemic and has long-lasting, forever effects on these children, which is why it is so important for us to have April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. But to prevent it, we have to be aware of it first, which is why April, every day should be Child Abuse Prevention Month or Prevention Day. But, April provides us that opportunity to bring awareness to the problem that is child abuse and child maltreatment.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned that some people are I definitely like to see all sides of it, and so having that dollar amount it's an incredible number in a negative way. Like this should not be this high, and so that is so interesting. And I know, do you guys talk to people about adverse childhood experiences and
the ACE studies?
Yes. See, that's something that I've always been really interested in. When back in school, that was like one of my main studies. So I think that is just interesting to see the physical effects of child abuse and these experiences that children have growing up and how it affects the rest of their lives, physically, their health, their mental health, everything. I think that is just so interesting. And I think you're spot on with, to prevent, there needs to be awareness.
100%. 100%.
Yes. So, moving on. So since children are likely abused by someone they know, what can individuals or family members do to prevent or stop abuse from occurring when the perpetrator has a relationship to the family? So I know this is some of the questions that I even have been brought up in trainings that I do. Well, what if the person is a family member and they have very close relationships. What if it's the stepfather or stepmother? What if it's a cousin? What if it's anything like that? And they have that close relationship. I know it can make it's another layer of difficulty. So, how can family members stop that abuse from occurring or preventing that with the family member relationship in mind?
So great segue. The first step in prevention is awareness.
Mm-hmm.
We have to know that, number one, I know we're taught stranger danger. It's the cute, catchy, words because it rhymes, but it is statistically inaccurate. And I think that's the icky, the uncomfortable part. We kind of want, if you will, for lack of a better term, to think that it's going to be the scary person jumping out at the bushes at night, the boogeyman, and the boogeyman jumping out of the bushes at night that's going to hurt us if we're going to get hurt. And that's kind of the more comfortable part. We don't want to think that it's someone that we know, someone that we trust, and in some cases that we love, are going to be the ones hurting our children, right? It's unfathomable to think that children are going to be hurt intentionally, but much less by someone that we know or that they know. 99% of the kiddos last year in 2020 that came through Scotty's house, so these are local kiddos that we all know, that 99% of the kiddos that walked through our doors knew the person that hurt them last year. Stranger danger is statistically inaccurate. Statewide statistics, I think, are around 98%, and national statistics are around 90%. So we're definitely on the high end of that average, but we're not a crazy outlier. Kiddos get hurt by people that they know, trusted, and love. And if the kiddos know them, we as parents and caregivers and adults know them too. And so so we have to remain vigilant. We can't just assume like, oh, that person would never hurt my kid. Statistically, they probably would, right? So we have to kind of get over ourselves and realize that to protect our kids, we have to remain vigilant. We have to empower them to protect themselves, because, it's just irrational to think that we can be around our kids and put them in a bubble for 24/7, right? There are going to be times when we can't be around them, whether that's at school or it's a coaching practice or piano practice or visiting relatives or anything like that. So remain vigilant, teach them a few simple rules. Like from the very early onset, we can teach them that penis and vagina aren't bad words. If we teach them, correct anatomical names, then we're removing kind of shame and embarrassment from those body parts. And there's just providing a level of protection from a very, very early age that there's no shame around those body parts. I mean, coming out, all of us, at birth have one or the other, right? When we start teaching head, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, and belly buttons and ears, you have a penis or you have a vagina. That's it. And just kind of get over the shame. I did it when I was, before I ever started working at Scotty's house with my kiddos. My parents did it with me. Many of us probably have nicknames for those private parts, but just go ahead and teach them, that penis and vagina is what it is. We can teach them the bathing suit rule. And that's something, we can introduce very, very early on. And it's not like we have to introduce bad people are going to hurt you or anything like that. But, bathing suit rule, nobody should be touching anything covered by a bathing suit or taking pictures of anything that would be covered by a bathing suit. I know it's cute. We have the little baby booties that are squishy and you just kind of want to, squeeze them or whatever. And we start taking pictures of them. And Lord knows I've seen people post, photos and videos of kiddos and baths and stuff like that. I mean, you may have great intentions and, pure intentions, but not everybody on your social media feed does. And again, it's people that we know that are, so you're already kind of like showing people that your toddlers are used to people taking pictures of their, private parts. They're not going to know if somebody has nefarious intentions is going to be doing that. So just don't. Be a no secret family. And again, this may be, coming into our older kiddos or getting a little older where we can understand those concepts. But secrets are bad and maybe not always good. Surprises are good. We want to surprise mommy or daddy with a birthday gift or a birthday party, but no trusted adult will want to keep secrets with a child. So if, and just kind of start introducing those concepts, not only to your children, but people who are going to be around your children, whether that's a babysitter or another family member or something like that. Hey, if they happen to say this, this is where it's coming from. I've already had that conversation. And so just FYI, because it's reciprocal. You can't just empower the kid and teach the kid. We have to teach other adults too, that we have had this conversation with the kids, and this is where it's coming from. And if we're empowering the kids and we're educating the kiddos, that's where it starts, and educating others. And then one-on-one situations, the majority of, I think it's over 80% of sexual assaults in kiddos happen in one-on-one interactions. And so if we can kind of eliminate those interactions, which again, it's irrational to think that we can eliminate 100% of them, but are those interactions going to be observable and interruptible? Even if it's not us as parents or caregivers, is it another teacher, like, after school tutoring or something like that? Is that teacher's door going to be open? Is that, is there going to be somebody else in the building? If their door is closed for, to limit or distractions during the tutoring session, can somebody peek in a window or something like that? So one-on-one interactions, if we kind of eliminate a lot of those, we can eliminate opportunity, or at least make sure that they are observable and interruptible when they do have to happen. I mean, you think of one-on-one coaching or, something like that. Can I, as a parent, go across the stadium or something and observe what is happening with that coach and my child? You think of, all the different things like with spiritual leaders and stuff like that, and spiritual counseling. Am I going to be able to sit next door and kind of hear what's going on? They don't always have to be, visual. They could be, hearing too, even on games and, the video games that they're playing now, where they're, using their headsets and stuff like that. Can I observe, by hearing what's going on? So if something gets out of control, which sometimes I do, we have little passionate, players that are playing the Fortnite and all those games too. If something gets out of control, can I stop? You're a little too hot-headed. We need to simmer down a little bit, whether it's your child or the child, your kid's playing with. So again, these are simple rules. And sometimes we just have to constantly remind ourselves and reset ourselves to say, and have these conversations often too, not just a one and done. They should be constant and ongoing. Open communication with your child is a huge thing. Don't just ask them how their day was. Ask them, who or what they did with whom during the days, after any, social gatherings at night, birthday parties, or anything like that. Just little things, open communication, remain vigilant, education. They're simple, but they are powerful.
Mm-hmm. And another thing that you mentioned too was about it's not only the kid that has to learn and continue to be learning about these kind of things, but also the parents. And one thing that I know I've gotten some questions and I've had some discussions about is consent with parents and with other outside family members who want us to hug and squeeze and love on these children, which is it's coming from a place of love. But if the kid says they don't want to hug or they don't want to be touched or anything like that, and giving them the option for that, I think is just so beneficial.
Oh,
which
absolutely.
is so hard because I have nieces and nephews and I want to squeeze them and love them all the time. I love those kids, but if one of them says I don't want to hug right now, it's something that we have to respect, so they know that no is powerful, and that if somebody disrespects that, then that's when we start telling mom and dad, telling anybody around us.
Absolutely, for sure. Great point. I'm an introvert, so I'm a non-hugger anyway. So, it was always made me kind of uncomfortable when, go hug your grandma when I was little and stuff. And so I was like, ooh. And so with my children and even my nieces and nephews and stuff like that, like I'm usually not the one to go grab them or anything like that. I let them come to me, or if they say they don't want to hug, I'm like, all right, that's fine. Give me a fist bump, something like that. I mean, because any trusted adult is not going to want to make a child feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
I mean, huge. And so I'm like, okay, you come to me, whatever, we're good. And so yes, the consent, asking them, can I give you a hug, instead of come over here and give me a hug, is huge. I mean, and that's the same, you're saying the same thing or requesting the same thing. It's just how you frame it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how you act when they say no as well. Right. Yes. So I think, that part is always been interesting to me, because it does come from a place of love and wanting to, hug and squeeze these little kiddos. But yeah, I think that the boundaries on there are so important for kids to grow up learning. But yeah, you said a lot of really, really important points. And I'm so glad that we're able to be here today to have this as a platform that people can hear this. Because on our side of it, we usually talk about more adults. Well, our ages are 13 and up. So we talk about adults. We do talk about teenagers and sexual violence that happens with them. But, we don't always touch on child abuse. And I think that part is so important, because a lot of these adults that are growing up they might have experienced that as children. So it's so important that we're even together on this platform being able to connect these, because they are very connected and intertwined. So I think that's extremely important. I appreciate you being on here. Is there anything else you would like the viewers to know, or maybe anybody that has experienced child abuse, or just anything that you would like anyone watching this to know?
So yes, expand on one point you just made, talking about consent and things like that. And, y'all help kiddos 13, or 13 plus, and then adults. Know that not all the perpetrators or those hurting children are adults. Unfortunately, it may be another child, whether it's an older sibling, cousin, neighbor, something like that. So when we say remain vigilant, it's remain vigilant around anybody who may have contact with your child. But in Texas, and I don't know how your audience is, but here in Texas, we are a mandated reporting state. So if you suspect child abuse, anybody over the age of 18, we are required to report that. When we're talking about someone under the age of 18, when we're talking about child abuse, you can report by calling the Texas Abuse Hotline at 800-252-5400, or logging on your computer, your phone at txabusehotline.org. That goes to the same place, just phone call versus website. Or if you're out of Texas, the National Child Abuse Hotline is 800-4, the number, a child, 800-4-a-child if you're outside of Texas. And we can't help them if you don't report. I know, and it's not in Texas, it's not necessarily an accusation. You don't have to have a proven fact. Our, threshold in Texas is you have cause to believe a child has been, will be, or may be hurt.
Yes, I think those numbers are extremely important, and we will put those in the comments for anybody that needs to click on them right away, just for easier access there. But again, I appreciate you for coming on here on this virtual platform. I know I wish we could do these things in person again, and hopefully soon we'll be able to hold more events in person. But again, I really appreciate it. I think this topic is so important for us to be talking about today. And again, if anyone has any questions or comments, please go ahead and comment them. If it's a confidential question or comment, please call our hotline, and I will link that below as well. And so I hope everyone has a great rest of your Tuesday and a great rest of your week. And again, if you need anything, I will put Scotty's house website on there, and then Zark's website as well, so you can get our information a little bit more. But thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank y'all.